Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulihil Kareem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone, I hope you're doing well. So today we are going to start another exciting story, and this is the story of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. And this story will be spread over several lessons. Today we will focus on the story itself, and then over the next few lessons we will take parts of the Quran, and then we'll take those parts of the Quran which talk about Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam is mentioned quite a lot in the Quran, and therefore there will be multiple lessons related to this story. So let's now just go over the story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent prophets and messengers in every era to guide people. Now in Arabic the term that's used is Nabi and plural is Anbiya, and that is loosely translated as prophet or prophets. And then messengers, for that the Arabic word is Rasul, and then the plural of Rasul is Rusul. So Rasul, Rusul is loosely translated as messenger or messengers. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent his revelation to them, and one of these messengers was Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, who was the first messenger or the first Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now here obviously a question comes up, what's the difference between a Nabi and a Rasul? And the ulama have given a simple explanation to this, which is that a Rasul is a special kind of Nabi. So Allah sent lots of Nabis. So Nabis would get the wahi or revelation from Allah, but a Rasul is a special kind of Nabi with a particular mission. So a Rasul might be someone to whom Allah sent a particular way of life, a particular book, or a Rasul would have been sent with a mission to a particular people. And we'll talk about this in more detail later, but that hopefully should give you a rough sense right now. Alright, we talked earlier about Prophet Adam alayhi salam. After the demise of Prophet Adam alayhi salam, his children stayed on the path of Tahit, which is oneness of Allah. So people stayed on this path for a long time. But then slowly corruption began to spread among them, and they started committing shirk, which means that they moved away from Tawheed and they started associating others with Allah. When idol worshipping became common on earth, Allah sent his messenger and servant Prophet Nuh alayhi salam towards this pagan nation. Now this nation lived in the area of Iraq, which in those days used to be called Babylonia. So modern day Iraq in the past used to be called Babylonia. This is one area where there was a lot of shirk. So people had moved away from Tawheed, and it is in this area that Allah sent his Rasul, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the beginning of idol worshipping on earth. We should recognize from the story of Prophet Adam alayhi salam that Satan is an eternal enemy of humans. So that is what he had promised, and Allah had given him leeway, or Allah has given him leeway till the day of judgment. So he is an eternal enemy of humans. From day one, he has sworn that he will misguide and trick human beings. He whispered into people's hearts and minds that these stars, moon, sun, fire, trees, humans and so on benefit you. Hence they may be your gods and they deserve to be worshipped. You should worship them and try to please them, and they will save you from Allah's punishment. So this is how Satan tried to misguide people. You might remember that earlier Satan misguided Prophet Adam alayhi salam and his wife by whispering in their hearts and telling them to disobey Allah. He saw their weakness and he exploited their weakness. Then after Prophet Adam alayhi salam, he kept whispering into the hearts of people, and he did not like the fact that people just worshipped one God. So slowly he started whispering in their hearts that, look, there is the sun, you get so much benefit from the sun, it's because of the sun that your crops grow, therefore you should worship the sun. Or if people benefited from the stars, in the olden days, people saw the stars, which were very beautiful, and the stars were used to guide people from one place to another. So he would tell people, Satan would whisper into the hearts of people that all these things that are benefiting you, these are the things that need to be worshipped, and then these things will help you with Allah on the Day of Judgment. So that's how he tried to convince people to move away from Tawheed and move towards Shirk. So this is how people got the idea of idol worshipping. They started making statues of different things and signs of nature, including human beings, and began to worship them. These were their imaginary pictures which had nothing to do with reality. So for example, let's say that there was somebody who was really pious. So somebody perhaps from the children of Prophet Adam a.s. who was very pious and very respected. But when that pious person passed away, he died. Afterwards, people initially respected these pious people. But over time, what Satan whispered is that you need to create their statues and start worshipping those statues so that these pious people who have gone away will intercede for you on the Day of Judgment. So this was another technique that was used by Satan. The concept of Tawheed was no longer present at the time of Prophet Nuh, and idol worshipping was on the rise. The people of his nation had made 5 famous idols. Their names have been mentioned in the Holy Quran, and the 5 names that are mentioned in Surah Nuh are Wad, Suwa, Yaguth, Ya'uk, and Nasr. Now let's talk a little bit about the definition of Shirk. Shirk means to associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his being and his attributes, and also to associate Allah's special attributes with others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated that shirk is a great injustice. So injustice means not giving something its due right. If we take anything that's created by Allah and raise it to the level of Allah, that's an injustice. Or if we bring Allah's level down, that's also an injustice. Shirk has happened in many different ways. So for example, if somebody believes that a certain person is a child of God, a begotten child of God, then obviously a begotten child of God will also be God. And that would be shirk, because we are associating this divine with Allah. So if we think that a person is God, then that is a form of shirk. Or another form of shirk is when we believe that certain people can respond to our prayers. Only Allah can ultimately respond to our prayers. But if we think that individuals will respond to our prayers, that's another form of shirk. We'll be talking about shirk in more detail later, but hopefully for now you get this idea. When we talk about attributes, we might have some attributes that are also discussed when we talk about Allah. So Allah is forgiving. We can also be forgiving, but our attributes are given to us. Similarly, Allah is eternal. He is always alive. He is the living. We have also been given life, but our attribute has been given to us, and the attribute given to us is finite. We only live for a certain time and then we'll die. But Allah is eternal in terms of His being ever living. Okay, now let's talk about the invitation of Tawheed, or the oneness of Allah. Prophet Nuh a.s. called his people to worship none other than Allah for 950 years. So he called people to Allah for a very, very long time. Back then, people had much, much longer lives. He forbade them from shirk and idol worshipping. He explained the same thing to them day and night, individually and publicly, but they did not listen to him. His people hurt him in different ways and made fun of him. Except for a few poor people, nobody believed in Prophet Nuh a.s. The chiefs of the nation said, "O Nuh, people who have believed in you are the lowest of us, so drive them away." Prophet Nuh a.s. refused to do this. The people of the nation told Prophet Nuh a.s. that they could not leave their idols because he said so. They told him to bring the punishment that he was scaring them about. So there are many points here. When Prophet Nuh a.s. preached for so long, he called people to Tawheed, only a few poor people accepted Prophet Nuh's message. And then the people who were well off, the leaders and the rich people, they said that we do not want to believe something, or we don't want to be associated with the poor people. So the rich people would say to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam that you keep these poor people on the side, then we'll come and speak to you, or then we might accept the message. But Prophet Nuh alayhi salam did not accept that. He said that these people have accepted faith, they have accepted Tawheed, and I'm not going to leave them. And now the rich people who are arrogant, and remember this arrogance was a big problem in the story of Prophet Adam alayhi salam also. The rich people thought they were superior, they were arrogant, they did not want to associate with the poor people, and because of this arrogance and thinking of themselves as superior, they refused to accept the message of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. So that's one important story. The other point here is that the people who were well off, they wanted to stick to the ways of their forefathers. They were used to worshipping idols, and perhaps they benefited from this whole system of worshipping idols, and they did not want to leave that system. And then in their arrogance, they would say to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, they would say to him that, look, you are talking about punishment, just bring it on. Even today, when people want to be sarcastic to others, they might say, okay, you are talking about the day of judgment, just bring it on. And again, this was a sign of the fact that they had a very high opinion of themselves and they were very arrogant. So after their continuous denial, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam supplicated to Allah. So Prophet Nuh alayhi salam prayed to Allah, "O my Lord, do not leave on the earth even a single inhabitant surviving out of the disbelievers. Indeed, if you leave them surviving, they will lead your servants astray." So this is a dua, and it has been given to us by Allah in Surah Nuh, which is Surah number 71, ayat 26 and 27. So basically, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam called these people to Islam for many, many years, called them to the oneness of Allah, called them to Tawheed. And as we just saw earlier, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam called them in public, he called them in private, he went to them individually, he spoke to them in groups. So he did everything possible. And when after so many centuries they refused to listen, then Prophet Nuh alayhi salam made this dua that, "Oh Allah, please destroy them and don't leave any of them on earth. And if you leave them, then they will lead your servants astray." So basically, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam came to the conclusion that there is absolutely no good in them. And if they are left, they will also lead astray other people. So the world is better off without them. When the disbelieving nation constantly disobeyed and demanded punishment, remember, they would say to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, just bring it on. So they were almost demanding punishment. They didn't think it will happen, so that's why they were joking around. So they said to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, okay, let the punishment come. Then Allah decided to destroy them. It was revealed to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam that no one else among the people of his nation was going to believe. Allah commanded Prophet Nuh alayhi salam to build an ark. So an ark is a big ship. Allah commanded Prophet Nuh alayhi salam to build an ark. So Prophet Nuh alayhi salam started constructing it with planks and nails. So planks are planks of wood. His people made fun of him while he was at work, wondering loudly that since there was only land all around, where will the ark float? But Prophet Nuh alayhi salam ignored them. He kept acting on Allah's command and continued building the ark until it was completed. So Prophet Nuh alayhi salam was receiving revelation and guidance from Allah, and based on those guidance, he was building this big ship or this ark. And it is said that this is the first time that a ship was constructed, and obviously the instructions were coming from Allah to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. And Prophet Nuh alayhi salam was acting based on what Allah was telling him. He knew that destruction will come, that there will be a big flood, but the kuffar did not believe any of this. They thought that Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, ma'azallah, was not acting very sensibly, and they would keep making fun of him. Whenever they would pass by and Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his people were constructing this ark, they would just make fun of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. When it was time for the punishment to come upon the disbelievers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Prophet Nuh alayhi salam to board the ark along with his believing family members, all other believers, and a pair of all the animals. Upon Allah's command, water started gushing forth out from the earth and pouring down from the sky. So when Allah's command came, water came down from the sky, so heavy rain, and then there was also flooding, so from the earth also water would come up. Soon the water turned into a flood and waves as tall as mountains started rising. So there was water all around. Now Ham, Sam and Yafet, three sons of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, boarded the ark with him, whereas one son, Yam, remained outside. So there are four sons that are mentioned here. Three of them accepted the message of their father and they boarded the ship with him, but one of them, Yam, remained outside. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam called to Yam, "O my son, come aboard the ark." And he replied, "I will climb the mountain and it will save me." So this one son, Yam, he did not accept the message of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. He did not accept the message of Tawheed. He thought that he was strong enough to save himself and he could use the resources that he had to save himself. He thought that if he would just climb up a tall mountain, then he will be saved. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam said, "Today no one can protect except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." And then suddenly a wave came between them and his son also drowned along with the other disbelievers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected all the believers who were with Prophet Nuh alayhi salam in the ark. So here there is an important message. Even Prophet Nuh alayhi salam's own son was not saved. So he was given the message of Tawheed. He did not accept the message. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam tried his best to convince him. He still did not accept, and then he was destroyed. Now after this flood, once the people had been destroyed, all the disbelievers had been killed, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the earth to swallow its water and ordered the sky to stop raining. On Allah's command, the storm ended and the water dried. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam's ark stopped at a mountain called Judi in the Ararat mountain range. So this is a mountain range that is on the border of modern day Turkey. So actually the Ararat mountain range is located near the border of Turkey and Armenia. So if you don't know these countries, most people know Turkey, some people might not be familiar with Armenia. I'd say you look at a map and it's the border of Turkey and Armenia where this Ararat mountain range is, and that's where Prophet Nuh alayhi salam's ship ended up. So this mountain range stretches from the plateau of Armenia till Kurdistan in the south. This mountain is still famous as Mount Judi. So this is the mountain where the ship ended up. The people in the ark who were saved from the punishment thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and began to live in obedience to him. The human race continued from the three sons of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, and the three sons who were with him were Ham, Sam and Yafet. That is why Prophet Nuh alayhi salam is known as the second Adam or the second Adam, because all the human beings after that came from the three sons of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Now, what are the lessons learned from this story? The first big lesson is that shirk is a major sin. We must stay away from it and also invite others to stay away from it. Only those who obey Allah and His Messenger succeed in this world and the hereafter. So that is the major lesson, that we should avoid shirk. It is a huge sin, and we'll talk later about modern day versions of shirk. So just as a quick example, in the past people would worship idols. Even today there are certain people who worship idols, but there are many more who worship things. So in a sense, a lot of people worship wealth. Their whole purpose of life is to get more wealth. In some ways that is also a form of shirk. So we need to recognize that shirk is a huge problem. In fact, in the Quran, Allah tells us that He might forgive all other sins except for shirk. So we need to be careful, we need to stay away from shirk, and we need to do our best to obey Allah. And that is the most important thing. So that's it for this particular lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. This just gave you a rough sense for the story of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Now in the next few classes, we will go over ayat from the Quran related to the story of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. That is it for now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.